We'll go ahead and call this commission meeting to order, and the first item on the agenda this evening is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So glad to see everybody this evening. It feels like it's been 3 weeks or so since we met, and I think it's kind of has been. Anyway, so the next item tonight is going to be public comment, and I have one person on the public comment. So, Ms. Smalls, if you could just please come forward to the podium, state your name, your address, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Juanita Smalls, and I live at 1220.
Sorry. Here we go.
Start over, please.
Okay. I thought it would have picked up. My name is Juanita Smalls, and I'm a resident here in town for many years, and I live at 1220 Highland Drive, which is right around the corner from the hospital. And my concern is, one, youth activities within the area. I noticed that we are trying to do some, like, repairs to the sidewalks and the streets, and we got some of the roads paved, but we really need something here for the teens to do. And I'm willing to work with anyone, volunteer to help to bring some type of services or anything that we can do for the positive things for the youth to do versus them not having anything to do, breaking curfew and getting in trouble. And my other concern is homeless pond and the fecal matter from all the pets. I'm so had enough of that. I've even stopped going to the pond because it's not policed by the people. You can go all the way in the back where the woods are, and it's like droppings all over. So there's no one, whomever's walking their animal there, they're not scooping it with the bags, or there's not even free bags there for them. Like if we put up like a little stand, you know, like we all have all the leftover bags from Walmart, we can just stick them in there, say, and then if the people walk by, they can grab them maybe, and then be more proactive. Or do we have like somebody from the city that can do like a roundabout cleanup, or we can have like a volunteer, you know how like, say, you know how we go clean up the highways, and then we have some people from the city volunteer to go clean it all up, and then we start fresh, and then be like, hey, this is our new city ordinance. If we catch you not cleaning up behind your pet, you'll get fined. Because it does promote like diseases. Like your dog can get parvo from the waste matter from other animals. A lot of people don't know. It's just not unsightly. It's also unhealthy to the other animals and to other people. And those are my main two concerns for today.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any stations now? Is there any up at South Park?
Yes.
I thought there was some at Homer's Pond, too, where
It has a pet station.
it's just a matter of, you know, the citizen doing their part in using it.
Right.
Okay. The trash cans are there and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I haven't walked that area in a while.
Ed, do you have one of the parks guys that makes a trip up there a couple times a week to clean up?
But historically, it's just empty the trash receptacles, not necessarily pick up.
Might have to add that to the list during the summer months or something like that, maybe. Unfortunately, I wish more people were responsible. But I think it's a never-ending fight that we're not going to win. And we can make all the ordinances we want and to be as punitive as possible, but not likely to be caught in the act.
But I think what happens in the end a lot of times is you'll have select groups or select people that will go out of their way to try to do it all for everybody, but in reality it takes everybody to make these things happen. And we can keep reminding everybody and just hope that more people will start doing their part. So, but thank you for bringing those to our attention, ma'am.
As far as things for kids to do in town, we have Spin City. That would be for the youth of basically all youth. We have 12th Street Community Center. We have 19 parks in town. I'm forgetting some of the city pool.
Golf.
Tennis,
Golf.
outdoor tennis
Golf,
courts.
tennis,
Rolling Meadows.
basketball
Outdoor
courts.
basketball courts.
We're going to redo the tennis courts at 5th Street Park next year. So there are things to do in town.
The YMCA swimming pool.
Yeah.
During the winter months.
Spin City's open. 12th Street Community Center's open.
The YMCA.
Those things don't appeal to like high schoolers. Once you get, and I know it's all a choice to go there, and I I understand that there are things, but when you become a high schooler, just as we get older, our interests change. So that's the demographic. Like when my kids were younger, they love to go to Spin City and do all these other things. But when they get older, their attention, they become more involved within inside activities. And the mall that we have is there. And you can only go to Walmart and get so much out of Walmart. So it's like, what is a daytime place? Like we have like a, I understand we have like the 12th Street Center there, but during the peak hours, during the winter time, where are they gonna go? Things like that. You know, everybody's like, oh, the teens, they're home, but if they're home all day, then only so many chores you have for them to do. So it's just like they need like something else outside of that.
For the past almost 5 years now, every year there is a group that comes together, and typically it's late in the fall, starting to be winter, and we gather and we talk about activities, and it's mostly church group driven, and we talk about trying to do these activities and put something together, and committees are formed and teams are formed to interview students to find out what they want to do, what would they like to see in town. And every year we've done that for almost 5 years. And it starts out and it dies out just as quickly as it starts. Within a month or two, it dissolves. It goes away on its own. So there's a lack of engagement. In the beginning, there's a lot of engagement, but then as we talk to the students and the young folks as to what they want to see in town, and we gather that information, it kind of falls apart. So from my viewpoint, what I think we need to do is to continue those groups, but we need to have those volunteers stay with it, stay the course, stay engaged for our youth, instead of letting it go. And it seems like it happens every year. Somebody comes along with a great idea, and then it goes away. I don't know if it's because of funding or just the lack of involvement, but it seems to go away. I appreciate you bringing that up again, and maybe that will generate some more interest, that one of those groups together will get together again and maybe begin some engagement and follow through.
Ms. Smalls, I want to offer one other thing to you. We have some groups like the Boys and Girls Clubs where we use teenagers to mentor the younger kids, and it's free, but they get something out of it. And this summer we used the teenage kids, the high school kids, to mentor the younger kids. And we actually did better with the Boys and Girls Club this year than we've done before. Instead of using a lot of mentors like me trying to teach somebody to play ping pong, it worked out better when you got someone closer to their age. But we need to do things like that, because we do have the structured things, but those, you're talking about the things that the kids don't fit into, like the square peg into the round hole doesn't work all the time. But if you want to work with me, and your library's got a list of all the organizations in the community, and it's a lot. A lot of people don't know what they do, and they actually involve the youth, they involve the community. And just get with me, and I'll give you my card. We'll get in touch, and I'll put you in touch. If you can get in touch with the kids and get them there, we'll give them some additional opportunities. Okay?
Okay. All right, thank you. Next item is going to be the consent agenda. Take it all questions or anything was taken care of?
The only question I had was on the bad debt write-off. We stay on pace about $600,000 a year on bad debt write-off.
You're talking about the ambulance, right?
Yes,
Yes,
I'm
that
sorry.
part. Okay, yeah.
And I know that we have processes to go after bad debt through the state and other agencies, but for the public's interest, would you explain just briefly that process of how we go through that
Sure.
bad debt?
Most of the bad debt write-off in medical is a contractual write-off, is that our rate might be $500, but we've contracted with insurance companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield will only pay $300, or Medicare will only pay $250 or $200. They're usually the lowest. And so the difference on the books, that is, because our fee rate is X and Y, and they only pay Y. That's the difference we have to technically write off on the books. So it's more of a financial bookkeeping write-off than anything. The remainder write-offs are ones that we actually, after we hire a contract company who bills them for the amount owed, and then when they don't pay in 90 days, then they send it back to us. Then we will attempt to collect, and then if they don't pay in another 30 days, we will actually go ahead and technically write it off the books. That does not mean that we don't stop collecting. So when we leave it on the books in just another section of our computer, and when we do, we still attempt to collect through our 3 different ways. We go continue to bill them, we send it to the set-off program, and we send it to the collection agency. So on 3 different methods in which we attempt to write off. The collection agency will try to track them down and get them on a payment plan or pay in full. We will attempt to collect here locally, and the set-off program, which is collecting through the state of Kansas. And the state of Kansas, usually any money that goes through the state, like your tax refund, or if you won money that somehow went through the state books, then they have the legal right to pull that and pay the entity that is owed money. And so we still attempt to collect under those 3 methods. And then once it comes back in, then it is as revenue as bad debt revenue, bad debt expense as a revenue at that point.
Okay.
But we never stop not trying to collect.
Okay, very good.
Except for the contractual write-off, and Pat would know that with the medical industry. It's
You
a
have no
big.
choice in that. I mean,
You have no
shouldn't
choice.
even look at that on our stuff, because it just doesn't matter.
There's a lot of folks that do look at it
Yeah.
and wonder why.
It's a
So that's-
bookkeeping.
It's a contracted thing, and these guys still have to write it down because it wasn't the full rate that we would normally charge.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that those without insurance pay a higher rate than anybody else. I think that's the biggest problem, but.
Yes. Well, and you, as the commissioners, have set the rate of what the ride in the ambulance is supposed to cost. Unfortunately, insurance companies and Medicare don't pay that full rate. They have a contracted rate because they said, well, you know, we have more clients and therefore we're going to bring you volume, therefore we want a discount. And so the difference on that discounted rate versus the actual has to be written off at some point on the books. And so we write it off as soon as after we collect from that insurance company, that difference is written off. And so that's why you see on her letter, there's 2 different lines there that she submits to you.
Right, okay.
The contractual write-off and the actual true write-off.
I just wanted the education piece to let
Yes.
folks know that we don't give up, we do everything that we can.
Oh, yeah.
But I appreciate that.
They didn't used to do all of that, and so we started a process of, they had started the set-off program, and they were using set-off, but then the other 2 methods we now do differently.
It may not seem like it, but it's better now than it used to be.
Yes.
Before Cheryl got here.
Right.
Yeah, we make every attempt still to collect that money.
Right.
If I owed a ambulance bill, let's say I'm self-insured, so I owe an ambulance bill, and I haven't paid it, and I buy a house and I try to get a water account, are you going to try to get me to pay my ambulance bill before you give me a water account?
No,
You don't do that here, okay.
no, I don't think we can.
One city did, I'm not sure if they could,
No,
but they did.
I don't
They
think
didn't
that
have
that's
it here.
legal. I don't think, no.
City did, and
No, they shouldn't do that.
they kept doing it, so.
No, we don't do that.
Okay.
But what we do is we still, I mean, we have some people we know that don't have a lot of money, and so they come in $5 a month, and we say, that's fine, as long as you keep paying that $5 a month, we'll collect your bill.
Thank you.
And Kansas set-off will actually collect money sometimes 10, 15 years later. And then
He
people
said he was
calling
gonna
up
be late.
mad because you're taking their money. And something else that, if you owe money, and it's, on collection with the set-off program, if you win a settlement in court, and you're supposed to have court money coming through you, going through the state court
Yeah.
system, that money can be pulled to pay your debts
Yeah.
also.
Anything that goes through the state budget system at all, and any touches the state budget system will be pulled right around tax season time, where people think they're getting $500 back from the IRS. No, you're not. Not if you owe us money.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
None here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Consent agenda carries, 5-0, thank you. Next item this evening is a public hearing for the 2017 Justice Assistance Grant application. Is an
I don't either.
open hearing to the public.
Madam Mayor, it's just again, as a requirement to apply for these grant funds, we have to allow the public a chance to make any comments. A hearing notice was placed by the city clerk 10 days ago, whatever it was, and this just allows anybody to make any comments.
Yeah, no public comment. We'll go ahead and close that hearing.
Oh, there he is.
Okay. Next item this evening is special presentations. We have two of them, two proclamations, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward. And the first one is going to be the proclamation declaring September 2017 is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And then the second one will be a proclamation declaring September as National Recovery Month in Junction City. So do the childhood cancer first. So if y'all want to please come forward.
He was, Sean couldn't make it. Didn't tell me who. And he said they would be late. They don't.
Awesome. Okay, so Childhood Cancer Awareness Month by Mayor Phyllis Fitzgerald, Junction City, Kansas. Proclamation. Whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection report, cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among U.S. children between infancy and the age of 15. This tragic disease is detected in more than 15,000 of our country's young people each and every year. And whereas 1 in 5 of our nation's children loses his or her battle with cancer. This includes over 250 children from Texas in the next year. Many infants, children, and teens will also suffer from long-term effects of comprehensive treatment, including secondary cancers. And whereas founded over 20 years ago by Stephen Firestein, a member of the philanthropic Max Factor family, the American Cancer Fund for Children Incorporated and Kids Cancer Connection Incorporated are dedicated to helping these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection provide a variety of vital patient psychosocial services to children undergoing cancer treatment at Children's Medical Center, as well as participate in hospitals throughout the country, thereby enhancing the quality of life for these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection also sponsored Courageous Kid Recognition Award ceremonies and hospital celebrations in honor of a child's determination and bravery to fight the battle against childhood cancer. Now, therefore, I, Phyllis Fitzgerald, Mayor of Junction City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim September of 2017 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Junction City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to join in this observance. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 5th day of September 2017. And I would just like to say, I know in our community here, many families have in some way been affected by either someone in their family, a child that's had cancer, or they have friends. And I know that we have a very caring community here that cares about each other, and anyone that's had to experienced that. So I applaud you, Katie Mortimer, and your family for all that you guys are doing to help the children. And I know you've got the big toy drive coming up on March the 15th.
September 16th.
I'm sorry, September 16th at Manhattan Community Park. And the toys they're going to collect are going to be split between St. Jude's in Memphis and Kansas Children's Mercy. So I thank you guys a whole lot for that. So thank you so much. Right here.
This is the Faces of Childhood Cancer. Everybody here has been affected. Autumn's going through treatment right now. She's a member of Junction City. Diana, her granddaughter Lexi was just diagnosed with childhood cancer and who's going through treatment right now. And this is why I do what I do. I lost my 3-year-old son Brady to brain cancer 5 years ago, and I've been rallying all over the place to try to get recognition because kids do get cancer too. So, thank you guys.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is going to be a proclamation for the National Recovery Month by the City Commission of Junction City, Kansas. A proclamation to all citizens of Junction City, greetings. Whereas behavioral health is an essential part of health and one's overall wellness, and whereas prevention of mental and substance use disorders works, treatment is effective, and people recover in our area and around the nation, and whereas preventing and overcoming mental and substance use disorders is essential to achieving healthy lifestyles both physically and emotionally, and whereas we must encourage relatives and friends of people with mental and or substance use disorders to implement preventive measures, recognize the signs of a problem, and guide those in need to appropriate treatment and recovery support services. And whereas millions of Americans are affected by these conditions, and whereas to help more people achieve and sustain long-term recovery, the United States Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and Gary County Prevention Partnership invite all residents of Junction City to participate in National Recovery Month. And now, therefore, I, Phyllis Fitzgerald, Mayor of Junction City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2017 as National Recovery Month. As designated by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration within the United States Department of Health and Human Services, call upon the people of Junction City to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies in support of this year's Recovery Month theme. Join the Voices for Recovery, strengthen families and communities. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 5th day of September 2017. Thank you. Did you want to say anything? Okay.
Nope, thank you very much.
Miss Angela, you need to mention your event coming up.
Why you always gotta call me out?
He
says this to me everywhere I go.
Because we want max participation.
All right.
Nothing's
so,
free.
Saturday at Acorn Resorts, we are going to be doing a 5K for recovery. It's a superhero fun run. Registration's $20. All proceeds are going to go back into the community for recovery. And so it's going to be fun. You can dress as a superhero. Bring the kids, bring whoever, you know, it'll be a good time. So
See?
he always puts me on the spot. I blush.
You did good. Thank you, Angela.
Okay, thank you. Next item we're going to roll into is new business. The first item is to consider a grant right away to Kansas Gas Service in the amount of $500. Mr. Dinkle.
Mayor, Commissioners, Kansas Gas Service contacts as on the map there. They want to connect and loop some gas lines together, and they need a little right away, and they're offering $500. The other easement they'll be using is the easement they presently have access to now. So it'll just improve service in the area and better flow of gas. So no big issues, and Jeff's always good to work with.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the presentation and consideration of the 2016 audit. Ms. Beatty?
Our representative from the auditor hasn't arrived yet. The audit is presented to you for 2017 with one formal write-up, and that, pardon?
2016.
2016 audit with one formal write-up, and that was in consideration for not having staff do all of the entries. So I had as you saw last year, was the same write-up, and we had two write-ups last year, and this was a repeat. What it boils down to is our old ENCODE system didn't handle the depreciation of all assets. And they had it, but had never used the software to implement it. We were waiting for the new ENCODE to get installed, and it is installed now, but the data on old ENCODE is so old that I'm having to start from scratch all over again on the assets. We're starting with the asset list that the auditors had been doing the entries on their own, which is land and buildings, basically. Not much more, and some of our major projects that we've done since I've been here. And so we've been tracking and depreciating that. So what we're doing, I've spent the last 2 weeks various phone calls with Tyler Tech on how to set up the new system, and we've got some spreadsheets that they can convert, Excel spreadsheets that they can convert for us into the new ENCODE system, but I have to rearrange it properly and get it done. So my goal is to try to get that done by year end, and then this write-up will go away if I'm successful. Okay. But I also want to do a full inventory program where we would take assets like desks and chairs that we want to inventory, where they're at, and get that uploaded into it. Then the software then will manage the depreciation and the entries for that without the auditors having to do it all manually and tracking. And when we have major projects, we would have project management that we would do through ENCODE 10 that would follow the project from beginning to end, and the software itself will handle what invoice was paid out of what year and what needs to be recorded as a project in construction, or is it ready to be added as an asset. So there's two things going on there. It all can be handled under the new software. It's a matter of getting all the software set up properly and us learning it so that we can meet the goals that the auditors want, so that they no longer have to do all the asset management part of our audit. We knew this was going to reoccur because when I first came here, we knew that the management wasn't there, and Pat may recall me long ago saying that, but we were waiting for new software. Well, that took longer than we thought, and now that we've got that first step done, it's now the second step of manually getting everything into the system, working on it. So that's our formal write-up. Then we have several other, what's called in a management letter, but most of those are going or being addressed. So those are things that they just would like to see us do. It's not any requirement, and it's not considered a violation. They're just suggestions. And so you saw my responses to on the management, which I will then in turn give back to them. So
These are statutorial. So.
Yeah. At least none of these, even the formal write-up is not a statutorial write-up. There's nothing absolutely. We would simply call this a clean audit with, how did he say it? It's not a violation, it's just a comment.
You'll want to reschedule this when we can get the order back. So.
Yeah. He said he thought he was going to be late. Well, he's not here yet, so if he comes, we could go ahead, and if you have any further questions of him, and fine.
Well, this has gotten better every year since Jim and
Yes.
I have been here. I mean, when we started, it was a disaster, and you
Yeah.
faced all that head on, and each year you chipped away
Yes.
at that mountain, and compared to where we were, we're night
Right.
and day better. So,
And then it'll get even better when we get into the new utility software,
Sure.
the utility building software. It'll be even better once we get all that transition done and finished. We'll be able to do even more and better tracking. Our reporting now, we can pull out almost all data we need for reporting, and once there's even an upgrade that's happening at the end of this year, the reporting will even be better because we can then tailor reports that we want with the new software. So it's all working. It's just slower than I thought it was going to be. We always knew this was a long road to clean up everything, but just ended up being slower than we thought.
When you, as you do all, like you said, you were doing inventory of equipment, all the like tables and chairs, and are you going to have like a barcode system where you're barcoding it all? So
That's what I'm shooting for. Now, the Tyler Technology, we haven't purchased the software for scanning and the barcode system, but we're going to go ahead and tag everything with barcodes so that and then we'd have to purchase software for actually being able to read it and dumping it into the Tyler Tech stuff. They're working on making that happen with their own software, but right now we would have to take out independent software and integrate it into the Tyler Tech. So we're still going to barcode everything with that so that we can have that capability. So the next transition would be upgrading the softwares to have that capability to simply take a little handgun for reading the barcodes and simply once a year go to each office and do a quick inventory. And then that way we'll be able to start tracking where everything's at.
Makes sense.
Okay. Anybody else?
And you're planning to do this inventory, or the department heads?
Sean is
or-
helping me, and then the department heads will probably assign it to them to actually tag the furniture and make a list. Some of it we'll do on our own. We'll assist the departments. Sean and I's main goal will be to actually getting it into the system in an orderly fashion so that it's readable and understandable, and so that we can generate the information. Garbage in will be garbage out, so we're going to make sure it's not garbage in so that we get good information back and organized.
As a side note, because we do have some interns that come in, and I'll just say we had some equipment that needed to be inventoried, and we used 4 interns.
Sure.
And they went around and did everything, and they
Okay.
did sidewalks, they did lights, they did everything in every part of the buildings that we had, and they brought it back, and then we had them input it, and then we checked it, and then we went around and certified, which would be a whole lot better because you both have full-time jobs.
Right.
And we didn't really hire you to be inventory people.
Yeah, you're right.
But if we brought in like some of the temporaries that we had this summer, or some of the interns, they're good at that.
Sure.
You give them a direction, check on them, and they get it done for us. And
Right.
you're still working, and they got work to do, and they get a little bit of money on the side.
Sure.
And we get it done correctly. Easily, I'll put it that
Yeah.
way. Easily. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
That's what we're working on, so that when you consider, like Commissioner Landis said, from the beginning till now, we've made some big improvements. Now we're just chipping away. It doesn't matter how you want to say how perfect you can try to get in accounting. An auditor is going to come in and find something wrong with your books. But to get it down from where we had 19 management letters and over a dozen write-ups, down to now we have 1 formal write-up and only 7 comments.
You did good.
We're getting very close to having it as perfect as you can get in our world.
Well, I think y'all are doing a good job at it, and you definitely
Just
make
takes time.
improvements. Yep.
Just takes time. If he shows up, we can ask questions. You can formally adopt it without him, but I don't suggest it, because
No.
if you have questions,
You had the order.
in no hurry.
yeah. It doesn't have, there's no timeline. We just have to have it into the state by October 1.
Actually, December 31 is the law, so.
Well, the law, but the filing deadline, we're supposed to have it in by October 1. So we've got, he can come at
do
the
it
next
next
meeting if he can't make this one. Okay.
Okay. Well, We'll just go ahead and move on to the next item then, which is going to be the consideration to award the City Hall Plumbing Project and Fire Station 1 Locker Room Addition bid to RF Benchmark in the amount of $529,000.
Okay, we kept you up to date on the project and what we were all doing, and we went out to bid on it with the amendments that we discussed with you. And Brett here is, Brett Deem with Deem & Deem, our architect, is here to present the formal bid tabs and as well as make a recommendation with RF Benchmark after he had worked with them to finalize and review the bid. You any questions? And I gave you the numbers for the budget that we have available for funding, what we are holding aside for cleaning up on the Teeny contract, which left us about $64,000, wasn't it? I think I wrote down.
I did have one question
Or
on that.
Reserve.
On the money you held back, if the playground project gets that...
That would have to
grant
come out of next year's budget.
next year, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't, okay. That's what I was wondering about.
Yeah, because the grant won't get awarded till
Okay, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't be this, okay.
February-ish.
And there's funding for that,
Okay.
and planned for next year.
Our official, looking at the project, the original estimates that I had done and worked with on there were approximately 580, in the 585 range, somewhere right in there. So looking at that, of course, I want to be not the high bidder on this, high bidder on this case. So we had 4 contractors bid on this job, and 529 was the low, with the next one being at 574, and then as you saw, it was 606 and 637. So there was a little range in there, but all in all, it was within the scope of the services that we were looking at. I have worked with Benchmark in the past on several projects that I felt were successful. I worked with them on design build projects, as well as they've come to me on projects in Manhattan where I've done some commercial renovations and so forth with them. So I am familiar with them. I have some confidence that they will, do a good job on the project. The biggest things on these type of projects is a renovation that goes way back 100 years. So we do worry about, some of the things involved in it and trying to make sure that you're trying to prevent or be ready for some of that coming in. And so we have looked at that. I've talked to Benchmark several times after the bids, just to reassure, hey, do you have your I's dotted and T's crossed on this matter? Because we are not looking to go in and get changed ordered, to death on this project, and being assured of that. There's other than, talking to them with it and being assured of it, have them going back and go, does that 529, sit? And I was, told again and again, yes, looking.
We
at
allowed the
number.
contractors to come back in and review the site several times so
Yes.
that they would feel comfortable with what they were bidding.
We had a pre-bid walkthrough before the project, so they could see it, and we could walk them through with myself and the engineers, because the engineer in this matter is very important with the mechanical beast of this project. So
Is the one page that's got the overall cost estimate of the 589, is that what your estimate?
Yes, that was his estimate, original estimate, yes. So in this case, the bidder was slightly under the engineer's estimate,
yes.
which is a good thing for us.
So, if, and like you said, we're not expecting change orders to come and...
No, well, I'm going to clarify that a little bit, because we are glad that they are under like that, because if any change orders come in, now that's why we're talking about with a little hidden ghost on these buildings. Is there possibilities? Absolutely. Because you just do not know. So until you start cutting concrete and dig it up. However, we want to take as much of that into consideration as we can right now, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's what we tried to do with them. Look,
Who does the oversight to keep them on track and, so that way it doesn't go out past
He does.
180?
He does.
hey,
He does.
so, and
Okay.
being a half a block
And you'll
away.
be cracking the whip when they're...
Yes.
Him and Mark will, when we do
Oh, yeah.
projects in-house like this, where we're the kind of the general
Okay.
to begin, Mark will make sure that he has daily inspections on them and reviews what they're doing and keeps close contact with Brett.
Yeah,
So, because he's going to watch out for us as well.
and I pester him.
Yes, both in both ways. So that's how we get on top of whether or not there's going to be a change order or not.
This isn't the, open palette of a project where you just have open space and you can go. It's an existing,
This is
so,
my tab.
yes, as far as staying on top of this, finding out the everyday, what's going on is of importance.
And we also took steps like when we knew that we were adding a second floor on that parapet wall, we went ahead and dug down and checked the foundation to make sure that it was solid.
Absolutely.
So
Check the
we've done some of those
foundations.
pre-inspections
Okay.
already.
Yeah, and check the strength of the beams that were
Yes.
already in there. And so we've,
Like
it's
say,
already,
yeah.
it's already planned that our foundations were fine, but however, the beam going across is going to need some stiffeners and so forth on there. So yeah, trying to do as much due diligence as we can up front. We really did.
And if you remember, that's also why we did the pre-study on this project with
PKMR.
AMR, to make sure that we understood the project
Getting into...
and what we were getting into before we did it.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I'll give PKMR a little bit of credit there, because when we first were looking at the fire station on some of that, they pretty much stepped aside and said, no, you guys need to analyze this building. So they almost took a job away from them just to saying, no, we need to look at the overall plumbing on this. I mean, it was recommended. So I
What
think
does
the best
the-
foot forward.
New addition to the fire station of 780 square feet consist of?
Locker rooms, showers, new toilet facilities, and accommodations, better accommodating, because what is also accommodating on that is with the old showers, those become females showers, so equality there. So,
Right now, if there's a female firefighter, they have to go downstairs. They're not in the same area.
Does each one of these bids plan on a 15% contingency?
there is, they have their contingency in there, 15%. I did not put a 15% contingency on there, no, on that bid. So is there free money to kind of play around with, on that? No. Not in that case. If I understood or answering
So
you
when they
correctly.
say...
My worry is that if there's anything that's not even close to perfect, that's going to be a
That they're
change
going to
order.
be change order.
But if we've already got contingency built in, then that's where they have to draw from, not on top of whatever bid they give us.
That would be wise, yeah. I understand what you're saying. So if we put another 15% on that,
I mean, that's my point. Does their bid include a contingency?
that bid does not.
Does not.
No. So there's not free money to play with up
That's what I'm
until
saying.
that point.
If we knew that it had it, then if they didn't use it, then we got it back.
Well, you can
Yeah,
look at
kind
that
of-
two ways.
yeah.
One way is that they see that as easy money to grab a hold of, and secondly, or if you go the other way, it's, no, we're in the driver's seat, and we're going to tell you whether or not we think that
Okay.
needs a change
Yes,
order or not.
Didn't have a
absolutely. So it's a
contingency.
double-edged sword. with
Yeah,
that
it's-
Not
one.
have a contingency line item in your bid specs, did you?
No,
No,
Okay.
did not.
That's just your estimate.
no, because we knew this was
Yes.
going to be a tight project. It has
Got
to
it.
be held tight.
If we go to page 215.
See, on my,
right near the
excuse
bottom,
me,
what's that?
on my bid, my,
See towards the bottom.
That's his estimate.
That's his estimate. That's his estimate,
yes,
Not the contractor's
not the
estimate.
contractor's estimate.
That's the one he made back in June.
yes. So what I'm doing is, on my estimate, I do throw a contingency in there.
So since they had a lower number, TF benchmark,
That's pretty good.
we hope that buffer
Yes.
is what's
Bingo.
going to cover us.
Yes.
Exactly.
I just want to make sure I understood that.
Yes.
Because it's actually even more than what you'd planned on. You said 31,000, that leaves us 50, 60 grand as our buffer.
Yeah, 60,
Yeah.
Plus the 10,000 on main level, second level. They got a 20% contingency of 10,000 on that piece.
Yeah, you're comparing line to line, yeah.
41,000.
Well, and every contractor does it different. They might put high on mobility and low on product, and they flip it around.
Yes,
Every contractor does it
absolutely.
Wherever they
different.
want to hide it.
Yeah, it's wherever they want to
Yes.
put the number. So some contract, they all do it differently.
Sure. The joy of old structures.
Yeah, well, I heard a comment from a citizen who said that, why are you spending money when we have all this debt? Well, these are buildings that have not been maintained well over the years. We have no hot water in those buildings at all. In the city commission, on the business side, the firefighter side has hot water for their showers, but barely.
Not enough capacity. I
We have a sewer smell that is awful in the building at times.
think someone might be
Because
able
it is,
to
yes,
elaborate on that.
That is horrible.
it has been awful for years. We don't, we don't have good facility to even try to recruit female firefighters. And so it is time that we spent some money on this building. It boils down to, we don't, and then one of the faucets in the basement, in the women's bathroom, barely trickles out. It just like barely. You turn it all the way on and it barely trickles out.
A nice line, probably.
It is so bad.
So, the other thing, if I may elaborate on this, is timelines and so forth. So once the contractor is awarded and we start, that timeline is going to be, and part of my job is adjusted, readjusted, and coordinated with the city and the municipalities. So when there's water shutoffs and so forth, but we can always keep it moving. We've really got to pay attention to that.
Are they going to use on-demand heaters for water, or what?
No, there is water, the hot water and pump systems, and I'm sorry, I'm
Okay.
getting a
I
little
just
bit
wondered.
lost on
I
that.
mean, sometimes those are more efficient.
Yeah,
Paper.
yeah. I honestly, I look back and I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, looking at the plan.
Only
So
5 minutes for hot water.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, they've worked on that, so hopefully it's solving all the problems. And
The boiler systems are much more efficient
Efficiency, yeah.
okay.
now than what they were. So it's not quite a wash, but the recovery time and when you see a return on your dollars is getting a whole lot closer with the new boilers with the high efficiency.
Okay.
We also did one step further on this. We're splitting the fire station from City Hall. So when something goes wrong over there, we were not shutting off the entire City Hall.
Good.
So there, it is going to be a split system now.
And that
That'll-
also has to do
huge
with
improvement.
phasing when this project's under construction. So we're not cutting one off and the other or both at the same time. It's working back and forth with that. And that's part of the timelines and the phasing of this project.
What's the warranty on the work?
Their warranty,
1 year,
the 1 year, yeah.
standard 1 year.
From when it's,
And then the products themselves, that
Very.
would have more, yeah. So,
Can't wait for it to get started.
Yeah, this will be a good one.
This included HVAC, right?
No,
no,
It does
this is
not.
water and sewer,
yes.
Okay, just the plumbing piece of it.
plumbing, and then the
Well-
addition,
Little HVAC for the addition, yes.
Okay.
the addition, yeah.
What's the condition of our HVAC in there?
Probably all the, except for the 2 new ones in the fire department side, they probably all need replaced. But
Okay.
we're talking about setting aside future for 1 a year,
Okay.
trying to start a process of changing them all out.
Sounds like we need to do some future
Yeah.
financing, future planning.
And I've
Okay.
been preaching that for years.
I think it's
But
time to go
it's-
to the helm and let's do it.
We're actually finally reaching that financial point where we can start doing some of this stuff. This is the good news. The good news is we can start doing some of these repairs.
We need to write it like a Bible so we can follow it.
Yeah.
We need to do 5, 10, 15 years out there and see what we need to do and how we can go about getting there. And we haven't done that in a while, but I think it's something we need to, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But we need to be looking at stuff like this. Okay. I move to approve the award of bid to the RF Benchmark for $529,000 as presented. I wish. Goodness.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item this evening is going to be consider the request from Junction City Fire Department and Coach's Grill and Bar for traffic control and a noise waiver on September the 16th, 2017 for the Muscular Dystrophy Association 3K Run and Block Party. Lieutenant Giordano.
Hello. Well, two things are obvious. I'm not Chief Breesy, and I drew at the short end of the stick. The Junction City Fire Department and coaches have asked us for some assistance in they're hosting an outdoor block party and wanting a noise waiver. They're also needing us to help with 3 areas of traffic control for their 3K at 9 o'clock in the morning on the 16th. We plan on using on-duty personnel, and then Lieutenant Booth from the fire department called today and reiterated that they would have people assist us if we were unable to get up to the areas. So
We can do it?
I'm asking that.
I've been a road guard at an intersection before, waving runners on, but the good thing about the first part of it, when they take off, that one officer can actually cruise down the same areas.
Sometimes, yeah.
Because
there's
even
not a
some
lot of
people like
traffic.
me won't take that long to get across that intersection.
Yeah.
And really, this is only new from last year to this year is the 3K.
The
that's been
3K,
added.
yes. And then the noise waiver, the chief has signed, just waiting your approval.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be consider the amendment to the on-call engineer agreement with Call Valley Engineering Incorporated for wastewater and water treatment plant projects. Mr. Dingle?
Yes, this is as you know, Call Valley we have an on-call contract with them, and they worked with HDR to do the testing of materials for the wastewater and water projects. Everything was great, but KDHE is saying that the contract that we have with them didn't put a not-to-exceed amount, so they've been after us, or Leon, to get a contract with us to have a not-to-exceed. It says not to exceed $5,000, and we ain't going to even get there, I don't think. Just a matter of trying to meet some KDHEs. Same dollar amount, it's been changed, nothing's changed, so everything was working well, but we have to do this.
Is this just like the paperwork then?
Basically, it's a KDHE requirement. They wanted a not to exceed, even though it ain't going to get near that high, yeah.
But they have the capability to do this testing in New
Oh,
York.
yeah, they've
Yeah,
been doing it anyhow.
They've been doing it.
They've been doing it anyhow.
Just to make sure.
This is just to meet some loan requirements.
Move to approve the amendment to the on-call engineering agreement with Call Valley Engineering for a cost not to exceed $5,000 for those services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the consideration to purchase two 2018 Chevrolet Impalas from Don Hatton Chevrolet in the amount of $43,500 and to declare one 2001 Chevrolet Suburban and one 2005 Ford Crown Victoria as surplus. Lieutenant Giordano.
Mayor and Commissioners, thank you. We are seeking the approval to purchase those two vehicles. The vehicles that we're replacing were bought with forfeiture in the money that we're using is going to be forfeiture money. We put out for a bid on July 27th and received 2 bids, one from Don Hatton out of Wichita for a total of $43,500, and the other one from Jim Clark Chevrolet in Junction City for $44,814. We did check with personnel from Jim Clark, and they were unable to match that, stating that he would lose $400 a car if he matched that. So he'd be giving us $400. So there's no budgetary impact, and a 2000 Chevy Impala will be put into travel use for people who are traveling to different training areas in the city, that are going to out-of-town training, that will have a vehicle available for them to do that. And then we'll get the money back after putting the 2 vehicles that we're getting rid of, the 2001 Suburban and the 2005 Crown Vic, when we put those up for auction.
Jim Clark could provide the same type of car?
They can, but they can't match the price without losing money.
But they're within that 3% of a local dealership, right?
No,
No,
they're
not-
not. That's
No, they're not.
$1,300 out of
Yeah.
44,000 is not 3%. But they will, Jim Clark they can still do service on it if there's any problems, so they can.
Yes,
with-
and
they
any
would-
warranty work, they'll get
So-
that, so.
Instead of losing $400 per car, they're still going to make something if there's anything that needs to be done to it. They just can't match the base price of the car.
And that's because the Wichita is a state contract, and when the state contractors go out for bid on that, they guarantee, hundreds of cars to the state of Kansas, and then then they go to the big guys and say, hey, I'm going to buy 100 cars from you. Give me a better price. And so that's how come they can get them better priced,
Yeah.
through the state contract. 9 times out of 10, it's not very often, 9 times out of 10, you can get, simply by going to the state contract, get a better price. And our purchase policy actually allows that. They can go straight to the state contract and buy it without going out to bid. But the police department has always tried to at least give the local contractor a chance at buying it, so they allow them to bid, but most of the time they can't match the state contract price.
And even our purchase policy says that the 3%, is it the 3%?
Yeah, 3%, and then there's a
They have to
3% rule.
match. I mean, so.
They have the ability to match if they want to.
They're more than 3%, but they chose not to, so.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the ones we have now? The 82,000 miles on a 2005, it doesn't seem to be excessive to me. There costs for repairs, what brings us to the point we need to replace that?
That I do not know. Lori, do you know? Yeah, it looks pretty rough. I'm not sure as far as the mechanical on that. Sorry.
Okay.
And those are probably 82,000 in town, very little out of town.
Hard miles.
Hard miles, yes.
Yeah.
And maybe the maintenance on them is, you having to do more maintenance on them now and everything?
What we normally do on the cars, we do, definitely, compared to the Suburbans.
Are these the 2 cars that were in the budget that we talked about too?
No, these are paid for as a forfeiture money.
Okay.
Because we had moved them out of initially he had put them in the budget for 18
Last.
as part of the taxable portion, or the tax dollar portion.
We did this right.
And
We turned it down.
pulled those out. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
combination. We're trying to find cuts, put it down, and buy them with asset forfeiture money.
Historically, the police department has bought the nine
Black and white.
Patrol?
patrol vehicles. The 9 patrol vehicles out of the city general fund and all the rest out of the forfeiture money. That's what has been historically done. That doesn't mean that can't be changed, but that's what they historically have done. This year, he had asked for the Impalas to come out of the general fund, and we pulled that back out. But now he's going ahead and buying it with asset forfeiture.
Well, they're pretty selective about vehicles that they replace. They don't replace just anything unless
No,
there's
they,
usually
Yeah.
a lot of maintenance problems with them.
I would
They're
say
more
with
costly
the,
to keep than to move on.
yeah, I agree. The Suburban having 131, I would say would probably be comparable to the Crown Vic having the 82.
And for my sake to go back to the 3% match, or the 3%, it's got to be willing to match.
Yeah, our policy says if a local bids within 3%, we give them the opportunity to match.
Okay.
The city's still getting the best price.
mm-hmm.
We just give the local dealer a chance to be that person.
And it's like $35 over. Okay.
But they would have lost money to match, and that's a choice that they make, and
Sure.
I applaud that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
He just appreciates when they get the warranty work on it.
Sure.
So will the commission?
I recommend the purchase of two 2018 Chevrolet Impalas and to declare one 2001 Chevrolet Suburban and one 2005 Ford Crown Victoria surplus and approve the sale of these vehicles by auction.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5 and,
Did
pardon?
you didn't ask if there was any
It's okay,
opposed?
you can do that.
Oh, sorry. Is there any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4 and 1. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the consideration of the 2017 Justice Assistance Grant application and the interlocal agreement with Gary County regarding the funds.
Okay, the police department is eligible to apply for grant funding through the 2017 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant. The amount is $16,020, which would be split between us and the Sheriff's Department. Us receiving $10,685 and the Sheriff's Department receiving $5,335. We will be using the funding to purchase crime analysis software and to send staff to training. And the Geary County Sheriff's Office will be using the grant funding to purchase equipment. And then we'll also require a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Sheriff's Department. And the grant doesn't have any matching funds, so there will be no budgetary impact. I would like to add that I'm excited about this if we get this. I think this would help our investigation division as well as patrol, tracking crime trends, hooking up with other agencies, because people travel. We do share a lot of the same frequent flyers between us and Manhattan and Topeka and Salina, and this would actually help us, and I think it would help us be more efficient.
Thank you.
And then if you would want to know anything about our crime trends and anything happening in the city, we'd be able to show you pretty easy up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Doing your link analysis.
Lieutenant, did you say the city is $10,000 and the county is $5,000?
Yes, $10,685.
Then there's a mistake in the interlocal agreement then, on page 259. E, be the fourth whereas.
Maybe.
And then section 1, now therefore section 1 says the city agrees to pay the county a total. Will the county pay the city and will run it, or will the city pay the county?
Well, if we're asking for it, I would think we would probably.
We process it.
Okay, so we need to,
You need to amend that if you accept it tonight.
Yeah, the city agrees to pay the county a total of $5,335. That's their
Yeah, that
share.
reads right to me.
That reads right to me.
city agrees to county.
Agrees
Who's
to
pay the
give-
county?
Because we're getting the grant, then we're paying them.
Oh, okay.
We'll have 10,000.
I was putting the money together.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Okay, then you're fine.
because they're applying for 16,020.
Oh, okay. The full award to the city. Okay, got that. Okay, that makes sense now. I was misreading.
Make a motion to proceed with the application for the 2017 Justice Assistance Grant.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
None here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the consideration of purchasing of office furniture for the 3 police department offices from Key Office in the amount of $30,437.93. Engineer Donald?
Yes, thank you. We are asking for approval to purchase this new furniture for the Chief of Police office, the operations captain, and the Chief of Police's secretary. This will replace furniture that has been there since 1989, since the building was built. And the old furniture will go to any city department that possibly might need it. We put out for bids, and we received a quote from Key Office Product in the amount of $30,437.93 for the purchase. That is a GSA contract. We did receive 2 other ones, 2 other bids. National Business Furniture was unable, they were not a GSA contract, and were unable to, I believe, supply the bid. And then another one, DBI Business Interiors, gave a bid of $35,344. Staples also put in a project, and it looked more like modules, like cubicles, and it wasn't what the look that they were going for. I was told that the chief, that Key Office Supply was the only one that actually showed an example of the furniture, so the chief knew what kind of quality it was. And that is going to be paid with asset forfeiture funds as well.
You know, once some desks are sat there, they hardly ever move. They're like brand-new desks, except for the drawers that slide in and out, but most of that furniture is like new. We used to get it from the Pentagon. It was like truckloads for free. Madam Mayor, I have no questions.
Okay, thank you.
Lieutenant Childs needs to take his broken chair with him.
He's probably the one that broke it.
After 28 years, we probably ought to,
There's a few broken chairs there.
probably ought to give a
She
sign
mentioned
and give
that
it to him.
it can be used for other offices, but once we settle out on getting City Hall remodeled a little bit and inventory done and all of this, we're stockpiling the extras in the basement over there, and we're going to auction it off. So whatever is left, we're going to start getting rid of some of the junk in addition, so that we don't have rooms and rooms of junk.
I like that
We'll
idea.
get it auctioned off, and it could be somebody's treasure.
That's true. That's true.
So we will auction it off and get rid of stuff. We're hoping next spring or next summer we'll have a furniture sale
Oh, that'd be nice.
to get rid of some of the things that we no longer need, and it's just wasting space.
28 years of service is quite a long time for office furniture.
It is. Some of it gets pretty beat up.
What's the will of the commission?
I would move to approve the purchase of office furniture from Key Office Products in the amount of $30,437.93. That the existing furniture be moved to other offices or disposed of.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And next item this evening is the consideration to reject the closure of South Garage Door bid for the police department.
Thank you. The city solicited bids to close the south garage bay door, lower the ceiling, and install heating and air conditioning ducts in the garage at the police department. Right now, what we're using that for is solely for evidence processing and storage. The bid that came in from, we received on August 23rd from Trinium Incorporated of Manhattan was a total of $48,046 for that. That exceeded the budget price, and we request that that bid is rejected. And we are going to be looking to scale down the project of just sealing the garage door at a later date.
Was that space still going to be used for evidence?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
It's just temporary until, like, when the guys are at night or when, on the weekends, when we collect something, we put it in that evidence locker, so when the lab guys come in, because nobody has access to the lab except the lab people.
Okay.
So it's only it's not like we store it there, but it's there probably over a weekend.
Did we look at any direct soliciting? Because there should have been a bunch of people to jump on this, and I'm just wondering, maybe they didn't see it.
I don't know, maybe it was just, summertime is kind of busy time, so, yeah.
And a bunch of folks are heading south right now. I saw a lot of trailers
Yeah.
heading that way.
Yeah.
There's more work than enough.
This project was, Lieutenant Popovich worked the specs out and everything, and before he bid it out, I asked him what he thought a decent price should be, and he was a lot lower than this number.
Okay.
And we're working with him, he's learning the job, how to spec a project out and everything else. So, one, we either didn't have good specs, and so you get the bid you get, so it's a good learning process for him. So, or we had too much in there, just all those things that we needed to work with, and move forward.
I moved to reject the closure of the south garage door bid for the police department.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam
Everyone-
Mayor, our auditor is here now.
I was going to go back to that now. Okay, so we'll back up to item B, the presentation and consideration of the 2016 audit.
Hey.
Good evening. I'm sorry I'm late. I apologize. The other council presentation that I had tonight went for an hour of public comment. So,
Wow.
You might get the same here.
Good evening. My name is Sean Gordon. I'm with Meishauser & Company. We performed the 2016 audit of the city. So I'll go through the audit report and hit some of the highlights of the audit report, and then I'll answer any questions that you might have at the end. Pages 1 and 2 of the audit is the auditor's report. Here we discuss management's responsibility, the auditor's responsibility, and then most importantly, we have issued a unmodified opinion, which is on page 2. This is the highest and cleanest opinion we're allowed to give under state and federal law, so it reflects very well on the financial management of the city for 2016. Flipping forward, the next section is pages 4 through 11. This is management's discussion and analysis. This is kind of a summary and hits some of the highlights of the activities of the city during 2016. Pages 12 through 13, these are the main financial statements of the city. There is a balance sheet and income statement that are most comparable to what a business's income statement and balance sheet would look like. The next section is pages 27 through 56. These are the notes to the financial statements. There's a lot of information here concerning the city and its operations. The information includes the city's accounting policies, long-term debt information, participation in Caper's retirement, among other items. I did want to point out on page 48, note number 10, it discusses the long-term debt of the city. The 2 refunding bond issuances in 2016 saved the city $5.5 million in future debt payments. So again, reflects very well on financial management of the city and long-term debt of the city as well. There is one new addition to the notes to the financial statements, and that's note number 13 on page 54. This discusses the tax abatement programs that the city has in place. There's a bunch of information here about all the tax abatement programs that the city has. The next section is pages 57 through 79. This is just more detailed information on all of the city's funds, balance sheet and income statements for all those funds. The next section is pages 80 through 102. This is the statistical section, and this information is 10-year trend analysis on a number of different items for the city, including population, utility customers, budget information, tax collections, and so on. The final section of the audit report is pages 103 to 111. This is the federal audit section of the audit report. Anytime a government entity receives and spends $750,000 or more of federal award money, it has to undergo a special audit called a single audit. The current year audit program that we looked at was the wastewater treatment plant project. And for that KDHE loan, we also issued an unmodified opinion, which again is the highest and cleanest opinion we can issue under federal law. Okay. There were also 8 recommendations we made for the audit. There are 3 different levels of recommendations that an auditor can make. The lowest level is called a control deficiency, and there were 7 control deficiencies issued. The next step up is significant deficiencies, and there was 1 of those issued for this 2016 audit. So we discussed all those with Cheryl and her staff, and then we'll check up on those again when we do the audit for the 2017 year. Mm-hmm. So that's all I had. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can also, if you think of a question or a comment later, you can contact me through Cheryl's office.
We kind of talked about things in general earlier, but
Okay.
Now's the time to ask a question. Reading the audit kind of puts you to sleep, but
There is a lot of information.
There's a lot of
in there.
information.
A lot of good information, though.
Yes.
A lot
Yes.
of good.
Yes.
Well,
Most of the time now, when people call and ask for information, we refer them to the audit because most of the information they need is in this audit.
One question
Yes, sir.
I get, and I know some commissioners have gotten it, is the concern about our debt, of course. And we are, and of course you'd have noted if it wasn't, but we are in total compliance with all state laws, and even though we had the law changed in the early
Correct.
2010-12, we're actually below the statutory limit,
Yes.
right?
I believe we are, yeah.
Yes, we are.
26,
Yeah.
whatever it is, yeah.
Yes.
And that's if you look in the
Yeah.
statistical section, there's 2 sheets that reflect that show where we're at. Trying to find them on page 94
Yeah.
is the important one where it
Yes, yeah.
talks about. Let's see, 94. Here's another page. No, our legal debt limit right now 37%, but we're at
We're 73%.
70, well, minus that, 73 minus 100%,
27.
27.
We're 27% under,
Yeah.
which it needs to be
And then,
8% under, but, you know.
and then by 2020, we'll get down to the 30%.
We're down to 30.
I mean, the legal, we have to be under the 30%, and we already are.
We are now, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So even though we went to the legislature and asked for that to be extended, we did it, we didn't do it because we weren't going to be under the limit. We did it in case there was an
Just in
emergency
case.
for a buffer.
Mhm.
Okay, and so that's why we did it. And people ask me that, well, why did you go do that then? Well, because if there were an emergency, if we had a tornado go through town, we need that extra buffer.
Right now, we have a $19 million margin.
Right.
Not that I want to borrow, but I mean,
No,
a margin.
but that was the
Been-
point of
been there.
to go to get that extension.
If you go look over to the left in like 2007, when you had a $1.7 million buffer.
Yes. That, and so.
Well, actually, 2011 was your worst year.
Yeah, 11 was our worst year. There was madness to it. We're still trying to be conservative.
Because I couldn't find it on my phone, I couldn't read it. What is the total debt, or what page is the total debt as of December 31st for the city?
I think that would be under your comments, under the sections.
And the notes to the financial statements is
In the
on
notes
page
to the
46.
financial. Yeah, it's in the. in
Page
the notes.
46, note number 10.
There you go. He knows it better than I do.
That includes
Go.
capital leases payable and certificates of participation and notes payable, which don't apply to the percentage that's statutorily required by the
Right, it won't match the
state
statutory.
statute. But that is all debt, including loans and notes,
But the main number is the general obligation debt, which is what we use to
Correct.
do all the EDC stuff and the housing stuff.
Right.
That's really the main number.
Yes.
If you look at all that, every city's going to have rolling debt for equipment and capital needs and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. So while that's important, I don't think that really contributes to the number that we're most concerned about.
These numbers also give you your debt on your budget you passed last month. It has all your page 5, whatever I can remember when the page it is, lists all our debt
Correct.
also too. So
Yeah, of the budget forms.
yeah, page 4 or 5, I can remember what page.
This number changes every 6 months because we have payments in February, predominantly. It actually changes every month because some payments are monthly. But predominantly changes in February and in September is when the dramatic changes show. That's another question I get asked a lot. How come that number doesn't match the number that the county clerk has versus the number that is in your audit? Well,
all the time
because
of the
it's
year.
a different time of the year
Mhm.
when I run those numbers.
I don't
This
have
is
any
also
questions.
posted on a federal website. Anybody can have access to it under emma.org, or .gov, emma.org.
Thanks.org.
Things.org.
Yep.
Emma. You just go Google Emma and it'll come up. And we're required to post this. It's already posted.
I think the thing to remember when you talk to people is for the most part, on the 10-year analysis trends, the numbers on the right beat the numbers on the left greatly. And it just shows progress. Not that
We are right on target to what our master plan was. And that's what's very important, and that's what's important to Standard & Poor's and why they had given us 2 increases along the way for our debt rating, is because we set out a plan and we've stuck to it. And that's what's important.
We've also discussed, Cheryl, your cash balances are much healthier now.
Much healthier, much healthier. I was excited to report to them that we had $30 million cash in the bank. That just was exciting to me. It was.
Any other questions or comments?
I'd move to accept the audit as presented.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Nothing right now.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean.
Next item this evening is going to be executive session attorney-client privilege.
return at 8:40, 8:35?
8:40.
8:40.
So move.
And include the
City attorney.
City attorney
manager.
and city manager.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll be adjourned
It's at
until
8:40?
2040. Can I get a motion to bring us back in?
Better than.
Move to return from executive session where no decisions were made and no actions were taken.
Second.
Hit your gavel.
All right.
It works.
I always wanted to do that. No. Order in the court.
Off with their heads.
If you get out of control tonight, I'm gonna.
Drop the hammer.
Okay, we're back in session again. We're going to go ahead and roll into the commissioner comments and committee reports. And this evening, we're going to start with Commissioner McAllister.
Okay, just briefly, I was able to attend many of the 100th anniversary of the 1st Infantry Division events over the course of the last couple of weeks. Very good, very well attended by community and by the leadership of both the city and the county. Attended the Chamber Business Expo. It was very well attended, and it appeared to be very successful for those businesses to show showcase what their wares were. I thought it was very successful. The last I know about the Convention and Visitors Bureau, they will be separating from the chamber. I'm a little confused. Nobody wants to talk to anybody. All of the savings that was indicated that the CVB could make to the county, the analysis has been run, and there is no savings. So I don't really know what the separation reasons are, and I think that will come out probably as this process goes on. Hopefully we can sit down and discuss a little bit further, but I think it's cut in stone that the CVB will be leaving the chamber. And we took care of that earlier, so Madam Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ryan?
Last couple of weeks, I've been really busy with Livermore, Geary County.
Are you living well?
Well, fairly well. I take nourishment and I drink water. We are getting much closer to having a grant coordinator in place, and things are moving forward, and applied for another grant and 2 more grants in the wings that we're looking at. So we will keep things going. And these grants is actually for leadership training to improve leadership in the community, both for Livewell leadership and leadership for, it's open to any business, anyone that wants to send somebody down to Wichita to the Kansas Leadership Center. So, and that's been filed already, and then we're filing for a couple of side grants that will cover the other incidental costs so that it'll make the training completely free, hopefully, if we secure the other funding. So we're working on that, and Ms. Smalls, after the meeting, I'd like to visit with you about Livermore, Geary County. Joe Handlers is the wellness coordinator at the high school, and he's one of our board members. If you wanted to attend Livermore, Geary County meetings, I'm officially inviting you now. It's a small handful of people can't make a difference for the community. It's going to take the whole community working together, and anybody who has interest in making things different, making things healthier for the children, citizens of our county, we want you involved. So I'll talk to you after the meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Sands?
Yes, issues were brought up this evening about dog feces, not just around Homer's Pond, but if you have an animal, it's something that you truly need to do, because a lot of that gets dropped even when you walk through other people's neighborhoods. I end up with, I don't have a dog, but I pick up a lot in my yard, and I don't really plan to, but I'd get my own dog and pick up that. But we need to do a better job. If you have an animal, do the correct thing. Be respectable. Pick up your dog feces. We provide bags and trash cans around Homer's Pond. Maybe we can provide them around other places where people walk their animals. But it's on all of us. It's not for us to pay. We don't have the money in the city to pay someone to come along and do that. And I hate to ask someone to pick up behind other people, but pick up behind your animal. That's part of the responsibility that you have. Back to the youth again, though, we had a briefing from the Scouts at the Optimist, I believe it was last week, and we have explorers of all types. We have the medical explorers, which the high school kids are all over, and we had the fire explorers, and I don't know too much about them, but these are folks that learn to work with, I know the police department, I think, tried it, but I don't know what the status was on those, but these are young kids that come in and try to figure out what goes on in the medical field to interest them, to bring them into that possible career. With fire, that works the same way. Get them interested, show them a little bit, and they'll take an interest in this stuff. My third item is something that's going to run for a little while, and that's planning. We just don't do it. Having been a strategic planner, you have to have options. And that daggone tree has got to be there. We do some things really well, but we need to be able to see distance. We need to see short, medium, and long range. That's 3 to 5, 5 to 10, and 10 to 15 years. And that's things that we are responsible for. And those things we're not doing. We need to hear from the department heads, just like some of those small items that we need to work on. That needs to be built in. It needs to be a plan. But it would make a whole lot of things easier. It goes along with the J-Luce, it goes along with the comp plan, it goes along with what we do in this city. It goes along with the wells that may possibly go out, and what are our plans for the next 4 or 5 years? What happens if we take a catastrophic? Where do we go to and how do we handle that? Those are the things that I see that need to be done. And I'd like to make a comment on our matrix, or excuse me, on our 515. It's real hard to read. And I've asked about a matrix. We did a matrix for a while. Matrix works out really good. When you do matrix reporting, it is so easy. And I started building one about 1.5 years ago, but matrix reporting, because nobody really likes to sit and write, but if you can put it into a report of numbers, we responded to this many type calls, we arrested this number of folks. I want to look at something. I don't want to read paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, unless that's what has to be done. But we tried a matrix thing before. It looked really good. And I think
I've never seen that here, but
Manhattan does it really good, and he was going to send it to me. But I went online. I downloaded a couple. It works real well. You do a lot of talking with a few bits of
It sounds like you're talking about like maybe a PowerPoint slide that shows
No, it's more of an Excel.
Excel.
Yep, it's matrix reporting. How much we did, when did we do it. I like the 515, but I find that thing being sometimes pages and pages of just information that I have to read. And community project, there's a big community project similar to one that took place last year over at Rayford Stadium. They're getting ready to do it again with anywhere from 200 to 400 parishioners. There's 4 churches that are getting involved, and if you want to get involved, I would say get in touch with Mr. Lazier. But those jokers, I mean, those folks came out and they painted the entire Rayford Stadium. And that's a lot of work. And this year they're doing other projects. One's going to be the shelter up at South Park, and there's some other things. Get involved. I got half of that one shelter done. We're about ready to do some more this week, and we'll have it ready for when they get started. And that date was September
24th,
24th.
9 a.m.
Okay. Madam
The
Mayor, that's
church.
everything I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Or, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sands.
Whoop.
Vice Mayor Landis.
Just a few things. A week from this Friday, September 15th, is the Gary Community Healthcare Foundation Fall Classic Golf Tournament, benefit tournament for healthcare projects in our area. I think there's still tee times left in the morning. It's a great time. It's the best golf tournament in the area, I guarantee it. If you want to donate for the folks down in Houston, please give money to the American Red Cross. It's the best way to get it there. Houston Food Bank is also something to consider. I went out to the golf course early last month to try to hit a few balls, and the range was closed out there at that time, which apparently they were redoing the range at the golf course in the middle of golf season, which I thought was unusual. But I noticed when I walked down to the pro shop to get some tokens to go hit balls that there were elm trees growing up right along the sidewalk. They were 3 or 4 feet tall. And I thought, well, I know they got a lot of projects going on out here. Well, I'll just kind of keep my mouth shut. I went out there a week ago. Trees are still there. Weeds are growing through the cracks in the concrete right around the clubhouse. So I sent an email to the city manager and Mr. Lazier about how I felt about that, and then that was relayed to the pro shop manager, who wasn't very happy with me, thinking that he doesn't do a good job or doesn't work hard. That wasn't the case at all. I'm sure that the pro shop manager, like myself, has played at many courses around the country, and the first thing you see is the clubhouse. And the grounds around the clubhouse always look terrific, and they should. It's the first thing you see. Appearance does matter. So I hope things change out there, attitudes change. I realize they have a lot of work, and we don't give them a ton of money to do stuff out there. I get it. But it still matters. I mean, if I paint my house this summer, does that mean I don't have to mow the yard? Because painting the house is important to me. So I hope city staff will encourage better things out there. I'd like to thank all the folks who wished me a happy birthday today. I'm very pleased to have another birthday today. I didn't think that on January 1 this year, but after my issues that I've had this year, I'm very fortunate. So thank you very much. Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor. I think we all should sing you happy birthday then.
No.
That was quick.
I'll hit your gavel.
I guess we answered that, right? Anyways, well, those are all really good reports, and a lot of things that all the commissioners were talking about are stuff that I, too, have attended. So I'm just going to touch on some of the other things that I've been involved in. One of the biggest things, and everybody here knows that I'm really big into our community and our first impressions of our community when you come into the major areas and stuff. And what I've worked on pretty hard in the last quite a few months now, and it's really starting to pick up, is different neighborhood cleanup projects. Since our last meeting to this meeting here, we've had 3 major neighborhood cleanup projects. Probably when I add all the people together that helped on that, it's probably close to 100 people for the different neighborhoods. Not all 100 of them at the same neighborhood, but one of the neighborhoods was the Westwood Elementary School. That neighborhood, there was over 50 people, that included the kids that came out, and we did a good neighborhood cleanup. Dell Motors was another one. We did the 4 corners at Grand in Washington, that whole area right there. I can't remember how many folks showed up for there, but I know it was probably close to 15 or so. Deerfield this last weekend, which is a neighborhood off of Grand Avenue, another 20-something folks showed up to help. So what I'm seeing is in our community, we have a lot of caring people that live in our community, not only for the people or different events that go on here, but just taking notice of our neighborhood, and or our neighborhoods is starting to volunteer and clean up. So, ma'am, that might go in line with things that the teenagers would like to do, because every weekend just about I have a neighborhood cleanup project. I post them on a Facebook page that I run. Good volunteer hours for the kids, especially if they're in high school and they're working on their volunteer hours. So just another great thing that's going on in our community. So this Saturday, Indian Ridge, which is the west side of 77, we have a neighborhood cleanup. It's going to start at 7:30. When you come into that neighborhood, the street called Call, K-A-W, you take a right, go to the dead end. We're going to meet there and spend 1 to 2 hours cleaning up the neighborhood. And the time it takes to do it depends on how the neighborhood looks. And sometimes they're not so bad. So that's what we got going on for the cleanup of our community. I had the opportunity, or I was invited to go to the iCare volunteer recognition banquet the other day when during the same time Business Expo, which I did go to that, which I thought was really fantastic this year at Heritage Park. A lot of great businesses came out, and you had the opportunity to learn a whole lot more. But I also went over to the iCare volunteer, and again, that's another group of people, teachers, and other folks in the community that care about the nursing homes, the older people. The schools get involved, and Bobby Witten, who's one of our retired police officers, put a video together of pictures for the last, I think they've been doing this now 6 or 7 years, a video of all the years showing the kids from the schools going to these different nursing homes, engaging with the nursing home folks, and if you could see the smiles on both of their faces, you could tell that it was very rewarding for both, whether it's the young person or the older person, to get to engage. So another example of great things that are going on in our community. I also helped the Bucks for Buckles this past week, and that was a State Farm event where we had some information to hand out for safe driving, wearing your seatbelts. If you had your seatbelt on, you got a buck. That was actually a very good event. We were down at Sapp Brothers, and I had $30. I gave out $31 bills to people wearing their seatbelts and some information. And what I really liked about it, most of those people were folks that live here right in Junction City, or teachers, or they worked at the call center, or they're a military family. So that was a really good time. Another community event that I helped and put together was this thing called Donate for Houston. We did that this past weekend at Heritage Park. There were so many people who brought donations, some funds as well. All that was taken down to Fire Station 2, dropped off because maybe Chief Johnson will talk a little bit about that when it's his turn. But we took a lot of stuff down there, and so that will eventually make it to Houston. But that was a great turnout, and really the community, again, coming together to help other people. And I think that's what our city does really well with is helping each other. Jim talked about the upcoming church cleanup project. So again, that's an opportunity to get involved. On September the 15th is the annual POW-MIA ceremony that will go on down at Heritage Park. Representative Lonnie Clark will be the guest speaker for that. I think it starts at 1800 or 6 p.m., so you probably want to be there about 5:30. So that'll be down at Heritage Park. And then the next day, I just want to reiterate the toy drive for St. Jude's Kansas Children Mercy Hospital. It's going to be over in Manhattan at the Manhattan City Park, and that'll run from 11 to 3 for the kids with the childhood cancer and all that. So anyway, so I've also went to the farmer's market a couple of times. I'm going to hate it when it's all done with for the year because it's really good fresh vegetables out there. So Thursday afternoon or afternoon, early evening is a good time to get some local vegetables and fruits and pies and bread and jerky.
4 to
and
7.
4 to 7, thank you, at the Gary Community Hospital parking lot. So
Every Thursday.
every Thursday. So I think I've probably shared enough already, but again, I just want to tell our community of Junction City and the folks that live here, thank you for all that you do for each other and for the community, because really together all of us make things happen. So with that, I'm going to move on to City Manager, Mr.
Thank you,
Deagle.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Couple of discussion. Sundown Salute. Michelle contacted me the other day. Next year, July 4th is on a Wednesday. And they have talked with their vendor, or their carnival, not vendor, the carnival that they've had for a number of years, and I think everybody agrees that's one of the good carnivals for this size market. But he would like to already start the carnival on Friday night, the 29th, and they would not start music until the 30th, it'd be Saturday, and they do the 5 nights of music like they did this year, and they want to go back to a Sunday night religious type situation. Concerns I have, of course, and this is going to be kind of the commission where to lead me to go in this one here, is if you start the carnival Friday, it means we probably shut the streets down on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll stay, so we'll be 8 days, plus down a little bit on Thursday, so basically almost 9 days of street closure downtown. Washington Street wouldn't be the whole time, but your 6th Street and your
Jefferson.
your 6th Street and Jefferson and down to the bank and everything else. And that's the concern that I would have. So
How many days are we doing it? Did we do?
we did 5. Normally they did, they did 4 or 5 nights. We went 5 from this year.
And the streets closed down a couple of days before the...
Yeah, you're gonna have to, because they come in.
Day setup, day takedown.
We shut it down a day before, so
Mhm.
we set the stage up. So what happens, and then,
And then the carnival, they start setting up 2 days ahead of time.
yeah, they set up the same time, about the same time
Yeah.
we set up the stage.
Yeah.
We're just adding one extra day this year?
So
Is there
7
one?
days versus 9.
Yeah, be adding an extra day. If you go, this year they went Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and, clean up Wednesday morning. And I can't remember what you've done in other years.
Well, I know the police department was concerned at one point that anything longer than 4 days, it just kills them.
It hurts us too, because we're paying overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm manpower-wise, though, just to have the manpower to do it.
Understood.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues there. I think anything more than 5 days is plenty.
Okay.
I mean, anything under 5 days is fine.
That kind of a
Fabulous.
consensus?
9 is entirely too long.
Well,
Yeah.
it's 5 days, but you'll end up being 6 days. But by the time you close down, you're blocking the street. I mean, we're only talking a 6-day event.
But a day before
Wouldn't start
and a
music.
day after for setup and takedown.
2 days before, because they'll start
9
setting
days.
Wednesday.
I think I'd rather see Tuesday through Saturday when they pick up on Sunday and done. Day before 4th of July, just to let the carnival get going, and then you could start bands on 4th of July night.
So you're kind of thinking
Saturday.
a 5-day celebration max kind of a thing?
I think so.
Yeah, I'd like to see their proposal, how they think they're going to,
The problem is they didn't bring a proposal. She hollered at me last week saying they,
okay.
because she's trying to keep the carnival because their contract had ended with the carnival, I
Yeah, because
believe.
they want to sign a 5-year contract, too.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's another community looking to take them
Yeah.
away, too.
Oh, I mean, if you're going to take a carnival away, that's when you take away. I'm not going to argue that.
But we hadn't looked at doing it the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday through the weekend. We typically looked at it before.
And I don't,
But
you know,
Commissioner Landis, Vice Mayor Landis' idea of running it the day before 4th of July and maybe towards the weekend, I don't think we looked at that because I missed 2 meetings.
Because you still grab a Friday and a Saturday night, which is where you really make your money.
Yep.
Yep.
And then Sunday you could tear it down.
Sunday be tear down and back to normal.
It needs to end on Saturday and then tear down on Sunday, in my
That's what
opinion.
you're saying over here.
Yeah.
I'll relay that to him.
Okay.
I
we
sent
do
you all
it
an
same.
email, Gary Stith with Flint Hills, the J-Luce guy that did I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, the J-Luce guy wants to give a presentation, about a 40-minute presentation to every governing body. And initially we thought 5:30 on the 19th, 2 weeks from today. However, the 8:15 now open, so we can either do it beginning before the meeting or 8:15. Do you have a desire?
At the next commission meeting?
Yeah,
How about at a joint meeting?
I can ask for that.
That would be better.
You bet.
Our meeting's
County.
long enough as it is.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
At
I'll
our
work
joint meeting, we covered all, both,
And it's safe.
both government bodies.
Sounds good. I'll work with Gary to get that done. The Kansas Outdoor Classic is going to be at Acorns area on the 13th and 14th, I believe are the dates. The county has asked if the city wanted to combine with them to have a team. Part of the team members play golf. Then you move on to trap shooting on golf Friday, trap shooting Saturday morning, and fishing Saturday afternoon. I'm involved with the Classic as I'm volunteering to auction their event. They have an auction that night. It's a $1,000 entry fee. You know,
Dang.
and the county wanted us to split. That they would be part of it. I know.
It's a
at
good
least-
thing. It's a good
Yeah,
thing.
it's a good thing. Yeah. I know.
Commissioner McAllister plays golf. He can do it.
Yeah, but he has a
Get out of
wedding.
town.
Okay.
I'll be out of town.
Mr. Ibarra there, he could do it. He's a player.
You saw the interest in his eyes. You just had to read
You'd
it.
have to get off though. Okay. No, do we?
Got his phone.
Okay, I'm not worried about Ray. And
Leon could play on our team.
Are the teams supposed to do all 3 events?
yeah, and if you added another person, so if you have 5 people, if you added a person just to do one thing, you pay $100 more then. So if you have 6 people, it's $1,200, and they each.
They get 2 shots to get a birdie. That's what you're saying.
No, it don't work that way.
I like that idea.
You like that idea? Any interest?
It's a lot of money. I'll shoot trap now.
I just trap that.
The only thing I would do is golf, and that's on Friday, and I'm working, so.
I'll be involved with the event, at least from my standpoint, and
It sounds like we're mostly committed.
Yeah.
They're
sounds good. No problem with that. Last thing, the playground committee. I don't know if we'll do the hearing. Initially, we were going to do it on the 19th, but it may get pushed to October 3rd. They have to have their public hearing. Talked to Joy Davis the other day, and they're confident they're getting their survey numbers in. So
Great.
the cool part about that, if that does happen, we can use those survey results for any other city CDBG grants, basically for the next 5-6 years until the 2020 census come out. And that's big. I mean, we'll have other possibilities we can look at ourselves, the city, to do other things.
I think they're only good for 2 years. I think they're only good for 2 years.
No, Jay
I
said
think-
till the 2020 census.
Okay.
That's what Deb said, so.
Well, we're 17, so it'll be 18.
18,
they
yeah.
It takes them a couple years to compile it anyway.
About
Yeah.
2 years.
Well, 2020 census,
22 years away
you don't
anyway.
even see them until 2020, 23. So I believe that is all I have, yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Beatty?
Other than the normal work, we did prep for the City Hall project by getting the offices emptied that we needed emptied so that you know we are moving the planning department back in where the engineer's office was at. And then next door was the assistant engineer, and that's where the VA office will get moved to. And the reason we need to move them is because when they are pulling the tile in the basement floor, it's asbestos tile. And so they'll have to seal out that, and the only entrance to the basement then will be through the elevator. I mean, there'll still be fire exits and all that, but so that the public will only be able to go down the elevator and into the building and codes area department, and then to get back to the planning department and VA, they'll just walk back the hallway where the building and codes is at, work back towards that conference room. So we did get that all prepped and ready to go, so we are ready to go when the contractor's ready to go. We did also do the strip down the old commission room in preparation for converting that into a meeting/training room. So that work has been completed. It's stripped down now. Mr. Lazier and I will be working together to get bids for carpet and the carpentry work that we need to fix the walls and the doors. So that was done this week. So that's another thing, working towards getting it renovated up to date. That's it.
Logan?
I don't have anything.
Thank you. Ms. Settles?
Nothing.
Trish? I meant the lieutenant? Chief Johnson?
Real quick. We've teamed with the Salvation Army to raise donated goods for the effort in Houston. And apparently right now we have about 8 full pallets, and they should be picking them up on June 7th. When I say 8 full pallets, I mean they're about 6 foot tall of everything from cleaning supplies to food. So it's going to the Salvation Army, who's going to take it down to Houston and distribute it where it needs to go. Very proud of the community. They've stepped up and done a great job. Thank you.
Great job, Chief.
We might have to do that for Florida soon, too.
Yeah.
Gary. Cybera.
Just to update on some of our projects. The Clink project is moving along right now. They put in 2 brand new inlets over at 16th and Washington to help the drainage there. They are working on the sidewalks at 7th and Washington and 8th and Washington on the west side, and then they will continue down to 9th and Washington, redoing the handicap ramps there. We have a meeting with APAC, Caw Valley on Thursday the 7th to discuss how we're going to mill and overlay the Washington area. We'll get that discussion, more to follow on that. And as soon as the Clink project is done, then they will do the street maintenance project after that. They will follow behind with that. Also, ACE pipe cleaning has started today. So they're doing the area, segment 1, which is south of 1st Street and east of Eisenhower. So that whole grid will be the area that they're working on cleaning the sewer lines there. And then we've had on the Spring Valley sewer improvement north of Valley. Right now we've talked to Mrs. Burris. Using her property as easement would be the most efficient way to put a new sewer line in there. We've talked to her. Caw Valley, Leon Osborne, and I met with her. She's given us permission to shoot grades and elevations there so we can figure out how much easement we will need, and then once we do that, we will go back with her to discuss what kind of arrangement she wants to make with us. And Mr. Osborne can elaborate a little bit more if you need more information on these sewer improvements. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Lazier? Mr. Peterson? Mr. Gurman?
Nothing, Madam Mayor, except to wish Commissioner Landis a happy birthday.
Mr. Osborne?
Briefly, on the sewer, we've probably finished up surveying today, and there's still going to be some issues across and piece of property that has a strip all the way down behind the ones that failed. So I don't know what actions are going to need to be taken to get an easement for them houses across it. It's new owners coming in from out of town, new military couples moved and bought the house, so. Got some issues, and I'll be bringing back some revised costs since we've kind of changed the routing and how we're going to go. As soon as I get it put together, you'll be the first stop, and then we'll start discussing easements and acquisitions.
Thank you. Well, I did see the ACE out today working on the sewer and the downtown curbs and sidewalk getting worked on, so that was really good for a while now. So I think that's it. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Good night.